Imagine this for a second. You're standing in your bathroom. Early morning or late at night. The mirror a little too honest with you right now. Shirt off. Shoulders slouched just slightly more than they used to. You don't look bad, not really. In fact, on paper, you're doing most things right. You work out. You try to eat decently. You're not completely letting yourself go. You show up. You put in effort. And yet, something feels off. It's not dramatic, not a crash. It's quieter than that. It's subtler. You don't feel weak. Your body still functions, but you don't feel powerful either, not like before. That edge you used to have, the thing that made you feel capable, confident, present, it feels dull, worn down, like the sharpness got knocked off somewhere. Your energy runs out faster than it should, faster than it used to. Stress hits harder than it used to. Things that you'd handle in your 20s now feel heavy. Motivation takes more effort than it ever did before. You have to talk yourself into things. You have to generate the drive manually. And that's when you hear people talk about testosterone, about creatine, about getting your drive back, about reclaiming what you lost. It lands differently when you're in that mirror moment. When you're feeling the distance between who you are and who you used to be. It doesn't sound like a shortcut. It doesn't sound like hype. It sounds like an explanation, like someone finally naming the thing you've been feeling. Maybe there's just one missing piece, one thing your body needs, one optimization, one supplement. Maybe there's a biological switch you haven't flipped yet. And that thought sticks because deep down, you're not chasing muscle for the sake of muscle. You're not chasing numbers on a scale. You're chasing the feeling of being capable again. Being present. Being the version of you that didn't have to force anything. At first, it feels reasonable. The logic seems sound. You hear the stories. You see the before and afters. Real people talking about their transformations. People talk about creatine and testosterone like they finally cracked a code. Like there was the secret piece of information just sitting there. More strength, more drive, more confidence, not overnight magic. Nobody's claiming that anymore. Just a nudge, a support system, a way to tip the scales back toward who you used to be. The promise isn't become superhuman. The promise is feel more like yourself again. So you try it. You add the scoop to your routine. You tighten up your other habits. You commit for real this time. You wait. You're patient. You give it time. And technically, things do change. Technically. The scale creeps up a few pounds. Your muscles look a little fuller. Slightly more defined. You squeeze out an extra rep here and there. The bar weight goes up a bit. Recovery feels slightly faster. On paper, that should feel like progress. The metrics are improving. The numbers are moving in the right direction. But emotionally, internally, it's underwhelming. You're still tired, still stressed, still waking up without that quiet sense of momentum, without the feeling you were actually chasing. That's the part nobody puts in the thumbnails. The disappointment isn't loud. It's not like you wake up one day and think, this doesn't work. That would almost be easier. Instead, it just sits there, whispering. Is this really it? You did what you were told. You followed the advice. You took the supplement consistently. You didn't miss days. And yet the thing you actually wanted, the feeling, the presence, the capability, it didn't fully show up. So you start looking for answers again, trying to understand why the gap exists between what you expected and what you're experiencing. That's when the noise kicks in. Loudly, You open your phone. Type a few words into a search bar. Hit enter. Suddenly, you're standing in the middle of a shouting match you didn't ask to join. One side is screaming that creatine is basically a legal steroid, that it boosts testosterone, that it turns you into an animal metabolically, that if you're not taking it, you're leaving gains on the table and masculinity in the locker room. This is the fix. This is the missing link. This is what everyone who actually knows what they're doing is using. The other side is just as loud, just as confident, just darker. They warn you it'll wreck your hormones, destroy your kidneys, spike DHT, which will make your hair fall out, shrink your testicles, mess with your sexual function, change who you are fundamentally. Same confidence, opposite conclusion. Both speaking with absolute certainty. And you're stuck in the middle, literally just trying to figure out what's true. Who's lying? Who actually understands what's going on? What makes it worse? What makes this genuinely frustrating is that both sides sound convincing when you listen to them. Both of them cherry-pick science. Both have studies they can point to. Both promise certainty. But here's the real problem. Neither one explains why you still don't feel the way you expected to feel. Neither one addresses the gap between the hype and the reality. This is where things quietly go off the rails for most people. The question everyone keeps asking, the one that sounds logical and scientific, is this: does creatine increase testosterone? It sounds like the right question. It's specific. It's measurable. It's something you could test. But it's the wrong question. And asking the wrong question sends you chasing the wrong outcome. Here's why. Creatine isn't a hormone. It doesn't look like testosterone. It doesn't act like testosterone. They're not even playing the same game biologically. Think of it this way. You wouldn't ask, does creatine make you taller? Because creatine has nothing to do with height regulation. Similarly, asking whether creatine boosts testosterone is like asking whether gas increases car color. They're in completely different systems. Creatine is closer to fuel than it is to a switch. It's closer to energy than to a signal. Your body already makes it every single day from amino acids. It's being synthesized constantly inside you. You get it from food, red meat, fish, eggs. Every time you eat animal protein, you're getting creatine. Supplementing doesn't hack your biology. It doesn't reprogram your system. It just fills the tank a little higher than your baseline. That's literally it. And when you misunderstand that, when you think creatine is working like a hormonal agent, you set yourself up for disappointment because you're watching a lab number waiting for it to jump, waiting for testosterone to spike on your blood work. You're measuring the wrong thing. Here's what most people get fundamentally wrong about hormones in general. And this misconception shapes how they think about creatine. They think hormones work in isolation, like a light switch, like a simple on-off mechanism. More equals automatically better. Simple equation. More equals better. That's not how biology works. That's not how your endocrine system actually operates. Hormones work inside an ecosystem, a complex system, energy, stress, recovery, muscle tissue, brain function, sleep, digestion, metabolism. Everything connects. Testosterone doesn't exist in a vacuum. It exists within this system. Your body produces testosterone based on signals from this entire system. When you train hard, your muscles need repair. Your body produces testosterone and growth hormone to facilitate that repair. When you sleep poorly, stress is high and energy is low. Your body down regulates testosterone to conserve resources. When you're eating enough and sleeping well and training consistently, your body has permission to produce testosterone. So when people say creatine does nothing because my testosterone didn't spike, they're measuring the wrong thing. They're looking at one number on a blood test while missing the entire context. And when others treat creatine like a miracle hormone booster, like it's going to make testosterone skyrocket, they're also missing the point. The truth sits in the middle, more nuanced, more complex. It starts with understanding what's actually changing when creatine enters your system consistently. Once creatine is in your system consistently, once it's accumulated in your muscles, the change doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It doesn't feel dramatic. It doesn't feel like something fundamental shifted. It shows up quietly, at the cellular level first. Your muscles begin storing more phosphocreatine. This is basically a fast-acting backup energy source. When you lift heavy, when you sprint, when you push through a hard set, your body burns through ATP in seconds, depletes it rapidly. ATP is the energy currency. When it's gone, you can't produce force. Creatine helps refill the ATP faster, right when you need it most, during those critical moments where force matters. That's why the scale often jumps a few pounds early on when people start supplementing. It's not fat. People panic thinking, oh no, I'm gaining fat, but that's not it. It's water being pulled into muscle tissue along with the creatine. Muscles literally hold onto more water. Your muscles look fuller because they're literally better hydrated, better prepared to work. Think of it like adding coolant to an engine. Nothing flashy changes on the outside. The visual isn't dramatic, but the system can run harder without overheating, can sustain more effort, can recover faster between efforts. That's the actual mechanism. Now here's where testosterone actually enters the picture. And this is crucial because most people get this wrong. Testosterone doesn't decide how strong you are by itself. That's not how it works. Testosterone responds to the signals your body sends. It's reactive, not primary. The signals are mechanical tension, total work done, recovery capacity, sleep quality, stress levels. Your body produces testosterone in response to these signals, in response to being pushed, in response to demanding tasks, in response to recovery. With a little more available energy, with creatine in the system, you squeeze out an extra rep. You add 5 pounds to the bar. You recover faster between sessions. None of that feels dramatic in the moment. You're not going to feel that single rep difference. You're not going to feel 5 pounds like, wow, everything's different. But over weeks, it compounds. That extra rep becomes 5 extra reps. 5 pounds becomes 20 pounds. That faster recovery becomes training 4 days a week instead of 3. Heavy resistance training is one of the strongest natural triggers for short-term testosterone and growth hormone release. Creatine doesn't create that hormonal response from nothing. It amplifies your ability to earn it, to trigger it, to deserve it. Study after study shows the same pattern, the same consistent finding. People taking creatine while lifting gain more strength and muscle than those who train without it, even when testosterone levels barely move on paper, even when blood work looks almost the same. That's the key insight. Same testosterone levels, different output, different results. And that difference, that gap between the hormone number and what your body actually does with IT, That's where most people get lost. Most people talk about creatine like it only lives in your muscles. Like the only place it matters is biceps and thighs. But your brain uses it too. Uses it heavily. In fact, your brain is one of the most energy-hungry organs in your body, burning through roughly 20% of your daily energy, 20% of your total calories, and it only weighs a few pounds. The metabolic cost is massive. When mental demands stack up, poor sleep, long work days, constant stimulation, managing stress, your brain feels it first. Focus drops. Mood flattens. The world feels slightly gray. Training feels heavier than it should. Mental fatigue makes everything harder. Creatine acts as a backup energy buffer for neurons the same way it does for muscle fibers. Your neurons run out of ATP, just like your muscles do. When they do, cognitive function drops under stress. With that extra energy available, your neurons perform better, clearer thinking, less mental fatigue, a stronger sense of control, better emotional regulation. Life doesn't feel like pushing through mud. The friction isn't as high. And this matters for hormones more than most people realize. Chronic stress drives cortisol up. Cortisol is the stress hormone, and cortisol has a habit of leaning on testosterone's neck. Not necessarily crushing it completely, but suppressing it, blunting it. It doesn't have to completely destroy testosterone to change how you feel. Even a slightly elevated stress load can blunt drive, recovery, and confidence. So when people notice better mood or motivation on creatine, it's not because their testosterone suddenly skyrocketed from 500 to 800. It's because their system is under less strain, less stress, lower stress, better sleep quality, improved recovery, better cognitive function. These create a hormonal environment that's simply more supportive. Testosterone doesn't have to fight as hard to do its job. Doesn't have to work against cortisol's suppression. And when your brain is coping better, you're more willing to train, move, and show up consistently. You have more willpower, more motivation, more presence. That's not hype. That's systems working together the way they're designed to. This is usually the point where hesitation creeps in, where skepticism takes over. Even if everything up until now makes sense, a voice in the back of your head starts listing the risks you've heard mentioned 100 times. Isn't creatine basically a steroid? Won't it wreck your kidneys? Spike DHT and make your hair fall out? Mess with your hormones in ways you can't undo? These fears don't come out of nowhere. They're based on things people have actually heard. Rumors that circulate, and ignoring them doesn't build trust. Dismissing them doesn't help. So let's address them directly. Creatine is not a steroid. This needs to be crystal clear in your mind. It's not a hormone. It doesn't bind to androgen receptors or shut down your natural testosterone production. Steroids work by flooding your system with synthetic hormones and triggering negative feedback loops. Your body detects excessive exogenous hormones and responds by suppressing natural production. Creatine doesn't do that at all. It's an energy molecule your body already makes and stores naturally. Your body synthesizes it from 3 amino acids: arginine, glycine, methionine. It's something your body understands completely, something it processes regularly, something it has receptor sites and metabolic pathways specifically designed for. Compare this to steroids. Your body doesn't have receptors designed for synthetic testosterone molecules, but your body absolutely has systems to process creatine because you make it endogenously every single day, whether you supplement or not. That's a fundamental biological difference that can't be overstated. What about kidneys? This is actually a legitimate health question worth addressing carefully. In healthy adults, normal doses, around 3 to 5 grams per day, have been studied for decades now. Not just a few years. We're talking decades of research, long-term trials, multiple cohorts, different populations studied. And they consistently show normal kidney and liver markers, normal function, no damage detected. There was a study published that looked at trained athletes taking creatine for up to 5 years. Normal kidney function throughout. Another study tracked power athletes over years. No kidney damage, no elevation in serum creatinine beyond what you'd expect from creatine metabolism. Now, here's where confusion happens. Creatine does increase creatinine in your blood. Creatinine is a lab marker doctors use to assess kidney function. And this is where people misinterpret the data. This is where fear creeps in. Higher creatinine from creatine doesn't automatically mean kidney damage. In fact, it usually just means more creatine is being processed. Your kidneys are literally just doing their job. Breaking down creatine, filtering IT, excreting IT. The system is working. It's like confusing your engine is working hard with your engine is broken. One means the system is operating efficiently. The other means the system is damaged. For people with existing kidney problems, existing chronic disease, existing markers of kidney dysfunction, yes, you'd want to check with a doctor first. That's appropriate. But for healthy people, for people with normal kidney function, the research is clear and consistent. Decades of data, thousands of subjects. Consistent safety profile across populations and ages. The kidney concern for a healthy person is not supported by the evidence. Then there's hair loss and DHT. This one deserves particular attention because it's the most misrepresented. One small study, literally one in rugby players, showed a temporary increase in DHT when they supplemented with creatine. But here's the context that gets left out. The DHT levels stayed within the normal range. Normal biological variation. It wasn't pathologically elevated. It wasn't outside normal human range. Hair loss wasn't measured in that study. Hair loss wasn't tracked as an outcome. It was never assessed. And here's the critical part. Follow-up research? It hasn't consistently replicated that DHT spike. One study found it. Many others didn't. The effect isn't consistent across populations or time frames. If you're genetically sensitive to hair loss, if you have the genes that predispose you to male pattern baldness, yes, many things push that needle. Training hard pushes it. The exercise-induced hormonal response can accelerate hair loss if you're genetically susceptible. Stress pushes it. Chronic stress elevates cortisol and can trigger shedding. Poor sleep pushes it. Sleep deprivation affects hair growth cycles. High body fat pushes it. Excess body fat is estrogenic. Blaming creatine alone for hair loss is like blaming one raindrop for a storm. It's missing the entire context. And honestly, if you're that genetically sensitive to DHT that you're afraid of taking creatine, you should probably be more concerned about the stress and sleep and training variables that have way more robust research behind them. The real risk isn't creatine per se, it's misunderstanding what it actually does and expecting it to replace fundamentals it was never meant to touch. People make specific mistakes when they start supplementing with creatine. And these mistakes explain why some people see results and others don't. People aren't fast. It doesn't feel fast. It accumulates over weeks. Some studies show measurable effects in 5 to 7 days in some athletes. But for most people, meaningful results take 2 to 4 weeks. Your muscles need to saturate with phosphocreatine. That takes time. And people quit before the saturation happens because they expect faster results. Creatine works because it accumulates. It builds up in your system. But if you take it sporadically, some days you take it, some days you don't. You never get the saturation effect. You need daily consistency, every single day. Missing days means you never fully saturate. Take it at a time you'll remember. Morning with breakfast, evening with dinner. Pick a time and do it every day. People take creatine and expect it to compensate for poor sleep, bad diet, or minimal training. Creatine amplifies what you're already doing. It doesn't replace what you're not doing. If you're only training once a week, creatine won't create miraculous results. If you're sleeping 5 hours a night, creatine won't fix your hormones. The fundamentals still matter, still dominate. Creatine is the add-on, not the foundation. People think creatine will make them look jacked or add 50 pounds of muscle in 3 months. That's not realistic. That's not what creatine does. Creatine helps you push harder, recover faster, and sustainably build muscle over time. The results are real, but they're not dramatic. People watch testosterone numbers on blood work waiting for them to spike. They ignore the actual improvements. More strength, better recovery, more muscle definition. The important metrics are performance-based, not hormone-level based. At the cellular level, creatine works through the phosphocreatine system, but the effects ripple through your entire body. Your muscles use ATP constantly. Every movement, every muscle contraction burns ATP under intense effort. ATP depletes in seconds. Phosphocreatine is a rapid-fire ATP regeneration system. With more phosphocreatine available, you regenerate ATP faster. You can sustain effort longer. You can push harder before fatigue sets in. This is why people feel stronger on creatine, why they can do more reps, why they recover better between sets. Creatine pulls water into muscle cells. This isn't just cosmetic, though muscles do look fuller. It's actually functional. Better hydrated cells perform better. They're more resilient. They handle stress better. The extra energy and capacity means more mechanical tension, more total volume. These are signals for growth. Your body responds to these signals with hormonal adaptation. Testosterone, growth hormone, and other anabolic signals increase. Not necessarily dramatically in blood tests, but functionally in terms of how your body responds. Better energy availability means better cognitive function, better stress resilience, better recovery. When your system is more resilient, it's less suppressed. Testosterone and other hormones can function more effectively. This is the turning point most people never make. We've been trained to think in 30-day windows. 30 days to feel different. 30 days to look different. 30 days to decide whether something worked or didn't. But hormone health doesn't care about your deadline. Your body is playing a much longer game. Your body thinks in years, decades. When you zoom out, when you actually expand your perspective, the question changes. It's no longer, did this boost my testosterone fast? It becomes, am I building a body that stays strong, resilient, and capable over decades? That's the real question. That's what actually matters. And when you ask that question, creatine fits into the picture completely differently. Muscle matters in the long view. Muscle is metabolically active. Muscle improves insulin sensitivity. Muscle is literally a buffer against aging. Recovery matters. A body that recovers well is a body that can keep training, keep adapting. Stress management matters. Chronic stress ages you. Chronic stress suppresses hormones, and yes, supplements have a place, but only in context, only as part of a larger system. Creatine fits into that long view cleanly. It's not there to rescue a broken system. It's not a hack. It's there to support a system you're actively building. Over time, more muscle improves insulin sensitivity. Your body becomes better at handling carbohydrates and energy. Metabolic health improves. Lower inflammation supports better hormone balance. Your system operates more efficiently. Consistent training reinforces androgen receptor activity. Your body becomes more responsive to testosterone. None of that shows up as a dramatic spike on a blood test. Your testosterone number might not be meaningfully higher, but it shows up in how you move, how you recover, how you feel in your own skin. This is why people who stick with the basics often feel stronger and more capable in their 40s than they did in their 20s. Not because their hormones are superhuman, but because their environment is supportive. Their system is built right. So where does that leave you practically? What do you actually do with this information? Not with a miracle pill. And not with fear either. If your goal is better testosterone, better energy, and a stronger sense of self, creatine isn't the foundation. Let me be crystal clear about that. It's the add-on. It's the support structure. It's the optimization that amplifies the fundamentals. Sleep still does most of the heavy lifting. Your body makes the majority of its testosterone while you're asleep on a consistent schedule. During sleep, testosterone production increases, particularly during REM sleep, not while you're scrolling at midnight, not while you're in a sleep-deprived state. That's foundational. That's non-negotiable. Inconsistent sleep, inadequate sleep, poor sleep quality. These suppress testosterone more than almost anything else. Training still matters. 3 to 4 days a week of heavy compound lifts that actually challenge you, that actually demand something from your system, not random exercise, heavy, progressive resistance training. This is what triggers testosterone response. Without this signal, without the mechanical demand, hormones don't have a reason to increase. Body fat still matters. Higher body fat increases estrogen and suppresses testosterone. That's not negotiable. Managing body composition is foundational for hormonal health. Stress management still matters. Chronic stress suppresses testosterone through cortisol elevation. This isn't motivational nonsense. This is biochemistry. These set the ceiling. These determine what's possible. Creatine earns its place once those pieces are in motion. Once you've built the foundation. If you're going to use creatine, here's what actually works. 3 to 5 grams per day. That's it. No loading phase despite what some old protocols suggested. No exotic blends. No fancy timing. Just consistency. Every single day. That's it. No exotic blends. No fancy timing. Just consistency. Consistency. Every single day. Missing days means you never fully saturate. Take it at a time you'll remember. Morning with breakfast, evening with dinner. Pick a time and do it every day. Hydration. Drink more water. Creatine pulls water into muscles, so you need adequate hydration. Not excessive, just normal, healthy hydration. Duration. Give it 3 to 4 weeks before evaluating. That's how long saturation takes. Don't quit after 10 days expecting miracles. With food. Take it with food and carbs. The insulin response helps transport creatine into muscle tissue more efficiently. Week 1 to 2. You might gain a few pounds from water weight in the muscles. This is normal. Don't panic. Week 2 to 4, you'll notice you can do more reps, recover faster between sets, feel slightly stronger. Week 4 to 8, the muscle fullness becomes more noticeable. Strength increases become more consistent. Month 3 plus. Over time. If you're training consistently, you'll build more muscle mass, you'll be stronger, you'll look different. But none of this is dramatic. None of it is movie-like transformation. It's sustainable. It's steady. It's real, but unglamorous. Here's where most people get disappointed. They expect creatine to make them feel amazing, to unlock hidden energy, to transform their mood and confidence overnight. It doesn't work that way. What you get is slightly better recovery, ability to train slightly harder, marginal improvements in strength and endurance. Combined together and over months, this adds up to noticeable results. But individually, each improvement is subtle. If you're looking for a supplement to fix poor sleep, bad diet, and minimal training, creatine won't save you. If you're looking for something to support an already solid system, to help you push 5% harder, recover 5% better, build 5% more muscle, then yes, creatine does that. 5% improvements, repeated over months, add up to significant changes. But they don't feel dramatic day to day. Think about it this way. In your 20s, you probably had plenty of energy. Testosterone was naturally higher. Recovery was fast. You could train hard, party, sleep 6 hours, and bounce back. In your 30s and beyond, energy is harder to come by. Recovery takes longer. You can't get away with the same lifestyle and expect the same results. This isn't a moral failing. This isn't a personal weakness. This is biology. This is aging. But here's the thing. You can manage it. You can support your system so it stays capable longer. Consistent training signals your body to maintain muscle, to maintain testosterone production. Consistent sleep supports hormonal balance. Stress management keeps cortisol in check. And creatine amplifies all of that, helps you train harder, recover better, build muscle more efficiently. Over a decade. This compounds significantly. Someone who stays consistent with these fundamentals, with creatine as support, will feel dramatically stronger and more capable in their 40s than someone who didn't. Not because they have superhuman hormones, but because they built a system that supports hormone production and function. Creatine will not make your testosterone spike dramatically, give you sudden energy and motivation. Replace sleep, training, or diet. Cause hair loss, unless you're genetically predisposed, and it's going to happen anyway. Damage your kidneys. If you're healthy and hydrate properly. Turn you into a different person. What creatine will do. Help you train slightly harder. Support slightly better recovery. Help you build muscle slightly more efficiently. Support cognitive function and mood, indirectly through better energy availability. Contribute to a system that supports healthy testosterone production. The gap between expectations and reality is where most people get disappointed. You can keep hunting for secret hormone hacks. Keep looking for the one supplement that changes everything. You can keep asking whether creatine boosts testosterone. Keep searching for miracle shortcuts. Or you can build a life your hormones actually want to support. This is the real distinction. This is the perspective shift that separates people who get results from people who stay stuck. Supplements tweak the dials. Lifestyle builds the engine. The dials don't matter if the engine is broken, if you're not sleeping, if you're not training, if you're perpetually stressed. You can have perfect supplement protocols, optimal dosing, cutting-edge research behind it. But if your fundamentals are broken, the supplements do almost nothing. However, and this is important, when the engine is built right, when you've got the foundation laid, sleep is consistent and sufficient. Training is heavy and progressive. Diet is adequate and supportive. Stress is managed. Then the supplements become relevant. The dials matter. Creatine makes a real difference. That's the perspective shift. The question isn't, does creatine increase testosterone? The real question is, am I building a life where my hormones can thrive? Are you creating conditions where testosterone can be produced naturally? Where your body wants to produce IT? Are you sleeping enough? Training hard enough? Managing stress effectively? Are you building muscle? Managing body composition? Staying consistent? If you answer yes to these, if you're actually doing the work, then creatine becomes a useful tool. If you answer no, if you're sleeping poorly, training inconsistently, eating haphazardly, then creatine is just expensive urine. The research is clear on this. Creatine helps people who are already training and trying to optimize. It doesn't help people who are hoping it will compensate for fundamentals they're not addressing. Remember that mirror moment at the beginning? Standing there feeling like something was missing? That feeling wasn't coming from low testosterone. Not primarily. It was coming from lack of progress, from lack of consistency, from a system that wasn't being built. You can take every supplement on the market. Your hormones can be textbook perfect on paper. But if you're not training, if you're not sleeping, if you're not building anything, you'll still feel that emptiness. The solution isn't more supplementation, it's more intention. It's deciding to build something, to train consistently, to prioritize sleep, to manage stress deliberately. And then, once you're actually doing that, once you're actually building, creatine can help you build slightly faster, slightly stronger, slightly more efficiently. But it's not the foundation. You are. Your choices are. Your consistency is. If you're sensitive to supplements, if you're sensitive to creatine specifically, yes, discontinue. But most reported sensitivity is actually dehydration or GI upset from improper hydration. Creatine monohydrate is one of the most thoroughly tested and safest supplements available. You make creatine naturally. Creatine in a supplement is chemically identical to what your body produces. Natural doesn't automatically mean better. It means your body recognizes it. So what do? If you're already training hard, sleeping well, and managing stress, if you're already doing the work, then yes, creatine is worth considering. It can help you optimize further. If you're not doing those things, focus there first. Get the fundamentals locked in. Then, once you're actually building, once you're training consistently, sleeping well, eating adequately, consider adding creatine. Not as a fix, not as a shortcut, but as support, as a tool that amplifies the work you're already doing. Here's what actually changes your life over time. Showing up consistently. Training 3 to 4 times per week, every week, month after month. Prioritizing sleep. Getting 7 to 9 hours regularly. Not occasionally, irregularly. Managing stress, not perfectly, but intentionally. Creating space for recovery. Building muscle. Understanding that muscle is your metabolic insurance policy against aging, eating adequately. Not perfectly, just adequately to support your training. These are unsexy. These don't make good thumbnails. These don't sell supplements. But these are what actually work. Creatine fits into this picture as a nice to have, not a need to have. But if you're actually doing the work, if you're actually building, creatine helps. That mirror moment you felt, that sense of capability slipping away, that's not fixed by a supplement. It's fixed by deciding to build something again, by committing to the work. Creatine can support that journey. Can help you progress slightly, faster, recover slightly better, build slightly more efficiently. But it's not the journey itself. The journey is your choice, your consistency, your commitment to building a life where your body and your hormones can thrive. If you make that choice, creatine becomes a useful tool. If you don't, creatine is just noise. The decision is yours.